Now, Pat might be, he may or may not be able to talk about everything freely because Pat's out of jail, awaiting his upcoming trial, which could send him away for a little bit of time because Mischief in Canada, oh, it's just Mischief. Yeah, carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. Pat, okay, so first of all, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I was going to say how goes the battle, but I can only anticipate 30,000 foot overview, just so that people may or may not know who you are. Who are you?
Well, I'm just a regular old Canadian guy, oil and gas worker for 20 years. Watched how this country has been going down the hill for a while, decided to speak up back in about 2018, 2019. And I've been advocating against this regime that we have for a political entity under Mr. Fancy Socks. I don't even like saying his name because it's like nails down a chalkboard for me. But we've been able to discover and investigate a lot of the corruption here and tried to get it to the table, to get it to the appropriate authorities, and nobody will listen to us. And once again, we decided that, Canada had enough. We took a little trip to Ottawa, and well, I guess the rest is kind of history.
Gotten deep shit. Well, we're gonna get into that. Are you born in Sault Ste. Marie? Is that what?
Yeah, I was born in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. I moved out to Alberta when I was 18. Just a backpack of I'm going hiking across Canada, and I got stuck in Red Deer, Alberta. I wouldn't call it stuck. It's been my home now since 1997. I love it out here. It's the only place that's ever been able to give me a prosperous life. Family, kids, a home, a job, and never had to worry about food on my table. But I know the rest of the country has those issues. You've got the Maritimes with those issues. You've got the Eastern Ontario with those issues, British Columbia with those issues. But Alberta has been a blessing. And they're trying to take Alberta away from us. They're trying to hinder us in every way in our oil and gas industry. You got to remember, we are like the Texas of America. Of Canada. We're considered Texas. We're floating on the oil and gas out here. And when Fancy Socks got into it, he initially formulated two bills, Bill C-68 and C-69 and C-48, which is the anti-pipeline bill and the anti-harbor moratorium against only Canadian ships being able to get our products to market. He bought up a pipeline for $400 million that had nothing to do with the Canadian government. It was the Kinder Morgan pipeline. It was being twinned anyway due to safety regulations. And once he got into office, he immediately bought it up and shut down the project. So being an oil and gas worker, understanding how this all works, we knew that it was a direct attack against Alberta and direct attack against Canada's gross domestic product. So we decided to formulate a protest back in 2019, in February 14th, 2019. We took a convoy to Ottawa. We sat on Parliament Hill with our trucks, about 178 or so trucks, and we actually had our voices heard. We stood there. We said, you know what? This is our issue. Politicians came out. They paid attention to our needs.
They talked to you. It's amazing.
They talked to us, and then we left 2 days later. And we had our pipelines reinstated for the projects that were going at the time. So fast forward now to 2020. 2020.
Before we fast forward, let's back up just a little bit. May I ask how old you are?
Oh, I'm 46. I just turned 46 years old.
46. So you move out to Alberta at 18.
Yeah.
I just, for my own satisfaction, as leading up to 18, are you a troublemaker as a kid? Are you a free thinker? And how does it be that you end up leaving at 18 to go to Alberta?
Well, define troublemaker. I was just a regular kid, right? Like we had our issues. Yeah, we threw crab apples at neighbors. We Nicky nine-doored. We did those kind of things. And at what happened was I was at 18 years old, and where I'm from, it's either you work in a plant, you work in a facility, the steel mills, the paper mills, or you work in the mines or in the lumber industry in Northern Ontario. And when I was 18, it was you don't plan on going to college. You're a mill worker, and that's what you are. So what I decided is, well, I'll go get into college and get working on my millwright. I was going to be a millwright in the plant at home. And my first 3 months into college, they shut down our steel mill, and 53,000 people were out of a job. So there was pink slips handed to them at the gates, and I was like, well, what do I do? Holy crap. Like, this is our livelihood. This is what our city thrives on. This is the only income for our city. So I saw 300 people lining up for a job at a Wendy's. We had just got a Wendy's in the community, and I seen all these people. And I'm like, how do you compete to go flip burgers? What do I do? Like, and the EI office was right nearby, or the job bank. And we looked up on the job bank, where is the most jobs in Canada? And it turned out that Red Deer had over 5,000 opportunities at the time. And I just got my backpack, said, to heck with this. I was young. I figured, backpacking trip across Canada, why not? And I ended up I found heaven. I found heaven out here.
Amazing.
And
so at 18 years old, this now then is 1994?
97.
97.
Yeah.
And so
97, 98.
So 18 years old, you get out there and do you start working the oil fields?
I initially started working in a slaughter plant in Brooks, Alberta. I worked in a beef plant. It's actually deemed one of the worst one of the worst facilities to work in all of Canada. It actually has that record. It's really horrible.
In terms of risk to employees, or in terms of conditions for the animals?
Conditions, risk to the employees, the whole nines, everything. Okay. It's gross. It's gross. You're walking around in ankle deep blood. You're cutting the heads off cows. It's bad. It's bad. But I worked there for about 18 months, and then I got a job on an oil rig with some guys that I met in a bar. We were at the bar one night, and they said, "Oh, you Easterners think you can work our work and do our jobs?" And I'm like, yeah, we can do anything you guys can do. Yeah, absolutely. Boy, was I surprised. I showed up to work. I worked for about 3 months, and I worked myself to the bone. Hard work. And the company that I had worked for had sold out and been bought out by a company out of Red Deer. So I went up to Red Deer to follow that company, and the rest is history. I worked my way up from roughneck, entry-level position, to a derrick hand, to a driller, to a tool push, to a senior supervisor, to a flowback specialist, to a completion specialist, which is upstream, downstream oil and gas industry, all by the labor of my back. My skills came at the job. You didn't need a college education at the time. We just walked onto the job. And then throughout my career, I had absolute amazing opportunities, big projects, been part of some revolutionary trade changes and I was at the forefront, one of the leading supervisors in it, in these big horizontal fracking procedures, and then became a flowback specialist and then a completion specialist. And from there, I decided I'm going to go back to university, and I got a degree in occupational health, safety, and environment. So I got a 3-year degree from the University of Alberta up in Edmonton with health and safety and environment. So not only was I kind of a very I'm not going to call myself an expert, but very knowledgeable in the field of oil and gas. Now I had the education to back it up as well. So with the education,
for my own personal benefit, are you working while you're doing the 3-year program?
No, okay, not at the time. So what happened was I ended up having an injury. I fell 30 feet, shattered both my legs, and broke my back. And then I had my leg removed because of complications. So I have a prosthetic leg from below the knee. And I needed to do something. I couldn't do the hard labor anymore. So I decided to go back to school. And I got my degree, and the rest is history. I worked as a health and safety advisor for an upstream and downstream oil and gas, and learned how basically environmental issues within a workplace, such as airborne contaminants, enriched oxygen atmospheres, and basically lots of pressures and stuff. But my background was in industrial hygiene. It was testing environments for contaminants in your air. So we ended up working at that job. I ended up losing my job due to a conflict of interest. I stood my ground under the safety guidelines, under the safety hat, and it didn't go well. And when it happened, it was right around the time of 2018 that they started attacking our industry. Well, they started attacking it in 2015.
As soon as Trudeau came into office, he basically started attacking oil and gas out west.
Absolutely. So it was tough for us to find more work out there. And I started reading more and researching more and following what was going on. Yeah, this one of your viewers says OSHA. It's exactly like OSHA in the States. I'm trained under OSHA and I'm trained under OH&S here in Canada.
I had no idea you lost a leg, actually. I had no idea about that injury.
Yeah, I had a surgery because of complications. I tried 14 surgeries to try and put my leg back together, and it didn't go well. So I opted to take it off. I said, no, I'm not going to live like this anymore. And I want this off, which also got me off all the medications that we were on due to the pain and the inflammation and all the stuff that complicated my leg. Once I got off the meds, I barely even take a Tylenol anymore. I won't take any meds because I seen what they were doing to me.
Just for my own curiosity again, things like Ghost Itch, do you still have
Phantom pains? Yeah, the Ghost Itch will drive you nuts, actually. Luckily, I don't have that.
And how, I mean, this will be the last question on this. I could go for a while on this subject alone, but learning to walk with a prosthetic limb, how hard is that?
It was like a duck to water. My leg was already messed up already. So getting the new limb back, getting the prosthetic on was nothing. It was easy. I was actually back to work up in the Arctic 3 months later, working flowback and just on the border of the Northwest Territories. So
amazing. Well, on this now introduction, people, we're going to end on YouTube because I think I want to get into some stuff that we don't know how YouTube deals with these things anymore because it's going to involve why you got arrested and your appearance on it's going to touch into the COVID stuff and how I first discovered you. So this changes nothing from our end. Everybody come on over to Rumble. The link is in the pinned comment. Removing from YouTube. Come on over to Rumble. 3, 2, 1 now. So this is very interesting because now it puts into perspective some of the things that I know that you had investigated for lack of a better word, but we are all entitled to do our own research when it came to COVID and the stuff. And knowing your background now, it actually explains a little bit why you were you were looking into the questions that you were looking into as relates to COVID.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I do have to say this right now, and I forgot. This is for fundraising purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm only allowed on social media for the purposes of fundraising for my lawyer. Unfortunately, my bank accounts are still seized, and I meant to send you this too. This is the email for my lawyer. If anybody cares to donate to my lawyer, it's in the private chat there. If you could donate to my lawyer, that'd be great. I don't have an income, and I don't have access to financials here in Canada.
Fucking believable, Pat. We're gonna get into that now. I mean, this is. I think that I'm gonna put that that disclaimer on YouTube, but it's clear enough anyhow.
Yes, it is for fundraising purposes, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to try and get donations. If you could put that up at some point, and people can donate.
Now I put the link in the description on YouTube, and I'm going to share I put the Natasha's email address, which I'll share with Rumble and everybody. Because we're going to skip a bit to the end. You end up getting arrested, locked in jail for 5 months for nonviolent mischief charges. Although they focused on some of your online statements. You were held for 5.5 months because of the convoy, because of your participation in the convoy. And the terms of your release are absolute, total and utter tyrannical bullshit.
They're the worst conditions in Canadian history. I don't know. Next to the Coots 4 that are still in jail right now, unfortunately, I think being in jail would probably still be better than having to live under a microscope like I do. I'm constantly harassed by the RCMP. I get door knocks anytime after 10 o'clock, in between 10 in the evening till 6 in the morning. I have a curfew of 10 o'clock. I'm not allowed to go out anywhere. I wasn't allowed on social media for over a year. I wasn't allowed to talk. I wasn't allowed to tell my story. I wasn't allowed to basically defend myself from the online attacks that were coming. The media is absolutely smeared and tarnished and just defamed my name. They've done an absolute horrendous job at portraying who I really am, and all by design. This is all an attack against me due to the fact that I had a large social media platform at the time. I also had, an encouraging message that was a positive message, and they didn't like that. They wanted to keep people in fear. and they didn't want people to be felt uplifted and propped up to know that they had a voice and they could use it peacefully. And I also did an interview with Trudeau's brother, and I think that probably pissed him off as well, because I did an interview while we were in Ottawa with Trudeau's brother, and his brother spilled the beans.
May I ask you to elaborate on that?
So Kyle Kemper is Justin Trudeau's stepbrother. I did an interview with Kyle while we were on Ottawa, just before the EA got invoked. And Kyle opened up the can. He said, they've got something over my brother. This isn't the Justin I know. They're basically blackmailed him, and this is why he's doing what he's doing. So his brother openly admits that they're holding something over his head, and they blackmailed him. I can only imagine what that is. I can only speculate what that is, but I guarantee you it has something to do with some pretty sick things. We
know some of the casual rumorings that we've heard from, behavior in the year 2000, a little bit beforehand. I'm going to ask at the risk of asking the dangerous question, they, and this is not to make fun, Pat. I have no doubt that these politicians are compromised. In your view, the they that has the blackmail material. I mean, is this part of the Canadian government? Is this how Klaus Schwab penetrates?
We can call it both sides. We call it the Schwab clique for sure. But Canadians, we have another entity involved as well, the Bronfman family that are here. If you're familiar with the NXIVM sex cult that went on, and they got caught. I think it was Carla Bronfman, or Laura Bronfman or something. The daughter of Carl Bronfman was caught torturing and sexually abusing young people. And the Bronfman family are the Seagram family that own the Seagram liquor here, the liquor company. And they've been pulling the string on these politicians since for however long. And they're involved with this. These Laurentian elites out of Montreal, they're all involved with it. Hold
on. Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna bring this up in real time. I'm gonna bring up the archive link so that
So you've got these people. Yeah, they're Claire Bronfman. I said Carl Bronfman. Claire Bronfman.
I know. For those who don't know, the Bronfman is a very prominent Jewish family out of Montreal, and I know that some people are gonna, because Pat, one of the go-to accusations is anti-Semitism. I'll just put it's New York Times people, so don't trust Pat. Trust the New York Times. Claire Bronfman is sentenced to 81 months for the NXIVM sex cult case. Will you never stop? A former member of the group asked Ms. Bronfman, a Seagram's heir who used her family fortune to intimidate critics of NXIVM. Okay, interesting.
That's right. And their family has been pulling the strings on every prime minister in Canada since I can remember. Brian Mulroney, all of them. The whole family has been corrupted. Then you've got Klaus Schwab grooming Trudeau for all of this stuff, as well as you have links to the Picton Farm and sex assault at the West Point Academy. I'm almost positive that is what they're holding over him. I do have the non-disclosure agreement. I can't expose it due to I'll go to jail.
Hold on a second. I don't want to break the Canadian internet. The non-disclosure agreement that relates to the allegations of sexual impropriety that he signed with allegedly with a former student?
That's right, at the West Point Academy in Vancouver. We have the copy of it. I've actually been giving it to my lawyer so that she has it. There's a record of it now, more and more coming out. And he got caught. He got caught at an event with this young girl in a sexual relationship by her father. He opened the door and caught them. And this is not news. This has been open public, but we can't divulge the paperwork because we'll go to jail and we'll probably get shot. But I have given it to the lawyer, so the lawyer has it in case anybody, ladies and gentlemen, I am not suicidal. I will not commit suicide. I'm a father of 4, and I love my life. So if I die of suicide, it wasn't me.
Well, let me ask you this, Pat. I presume as part of your bail conditions, you're not allowed owning or possessing a firearm?
No, you're not allowed that. No firearms because well, we won't touch that. But
okay,
let's just say this: the RCMP head of firearms trafficking came into jail and questioned me if I was selling firearms. This is how bad they got.
So,
horrible. It's ridiculous.
I forgot how we got off on this tangent, but so public enemy number one in Canada, you had some organizational experience in terms of political movements for the oil and gas out west, and it succeeded. And these were some of the same. I don't want tactics has a negative term, but these were some of the same strategies used to raise awareness for the COVID protests. And the truckers sort of did a similar thing in Ottawa. Now, hold on a second. As part of your bail terms as well, you're not allowed discussing
my trial.
The trial.
I can't talk about my trial, and I can't talk about the convoy.
Okay,
I can't talk about my involvement in the convoy.
Okay, so what I'll tell you, look, and what I love is I don't know anything confidential, so I can't even accidentally say something. So I'll say what I know in terms of what was publicly published on you. You were not, as far as I understand, well, okay, I'm not even going to ask the question, whether or not you were directly involved in it, because there was some infighting as to whether or not you came in and tried to co-opt the movement. There was infighting, et cetera, et cetera. Without getting into any of that, the accusations against you are that you were one of the convoy organizers. You're a very bad man. You said some very bad things online. And what I don't even remember if there was anything specific that you were alleged to have said in relation to the convoy, but you got arrested, swept up with Tamara Leach, Chris Barber, and others as part of the organizers of the convoy, and arrested and detained on mischief, incitement to mischief. I think you're counseling people to defy police orders. Nothing violent.
Nothing. Not one violent charge.
I don't know. I'll ask it. If you don't want to answer it, don't answer it. Any criminal record going into this?
Oh, I have a juvenile record. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's supposed to be hidden, right?
Expunged or
expunged when you turn 18. Yeah, but no, don't believe that for 1 minute, because they definitely tried to bring that up.
Nothing as of the time of adulthood until your very serious incitement to mischief charges for having participated in the convoy. Are you allowed? Or is it public knowledge as to whether or not you're a defendant to the civil action by Zexi Lee out of Ottawa?
Oh boy, that one we can open up. We can pull the can right open on that one. Abso-frickin-lutely, I'm part of that one.
Okay, so you go down, whether or not it's part and parcel of the organizers. You get involved in the convoy. You're a vocal proponent. You have a big social media following. Have you gotten that back, by the way?
Yeah, but it's absolutely shadow banned. Worse than I've ever seen in my life. I have over 340,000 followers on the social media, and then they give me that back for fundraising purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for fundraising purposes.
We should have a little. I need a little Chiron.
And if you can donate, please donate to my lawyer at natasha.calvino@gmail.com. That is how I'm on social media. That is how I'm allowed. What I just said.
Jokes aside. Change your name to Pat King for fundraising purposes only on StreamYard. Okay, so you get arrested, and I don't want to get you into trouble. It's absolutely not.
I won't let you get me into trouble. I've done so good so far. This far, I'm not going to get into trouble.
So they arrest you. It was the Friday, the day before. When did they arrest you?
They arrested me on February the 18th, which was a Friday.
Yeah, so that was the Friday before they came in with the Iron Fist of Fury.
They were actually coming down with the Iron Fist on my arrest. They were already doing it. They arrested me actually in Gatineau, on the Gatineau Bridge, on the Gatineau side of Quebec, which I think myself was illegal because I wasn't even in the province of Ontario at the time. But that's for trial to figure that out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they arrested me as a person of interest.
For what? Allegedly. Again, I
don't allegedly. Yeah. Well, so my charges consist of mischief, counsel to mischief, failure to abide by a court order, intimidating law enforcement, and then 3 perjury charges and 2 obstruction charges.
And so I know this is public as well. The perjury charges stem from your statements given for your bail hearing, correct?
For my bail hearing, yeah. So I was attempting to get released on bail. I had 2 lawyers that now, at this moment, presently, right now, there is a financial and internal audit on the 2 lawyers that had corrupted my bail hearing. They basically set me up. They colluded with the Crown, and they formulated a direct attack on me, which caused me to perjure, according to them, allegedly, on the stand, and it should have never even went that way. They set me up.
Well,
They set me up. They turned out to be Doug Ford's or whoever the premier of Ontario. They're his good friends, and they absolutely set me up. And that is in a Ontario Law Society audit right now. It's escalated from an inquiry and an investigation to an actual full-blown audit. So that means they're getting their finances looked at, all their correspondence looked at, every file that they have. These guys are as corrupt as it goes. And not only to the point that this lawyer actually said, I can handpick my judges. I'm the one who selects the judgeships. So, like, we've got it on record and recorded that these guys were as dirty as it comes.
Yeah, I'm reading Loyal Fedora says they set you up, you were good to go. Then next thing we knew, arrested.
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah, they set it all up. It was absolutely horrible what they did. I want to say so much, but I can't.
Yeah. Okay. So perjury is the charges they added after the Mischief, and people have to understand Mischief. Whether or not it's void for vagueness, it's I don't know if it's been challenged constitutionally, but it's pretty damn vague. But incitement to mischief, like, all right, now I'm verbally suggesting that you do that which is already vague as a standalone act, and they locked you up for 5.5 months.
5 months, yeah. So I didn't get out until July 18th, 2022. When I finally got out, it was a long-awaited release. I was sick. I looked horrible. The conditions in the prison were absolutely horrendous. I was basically put in solitary confinement for about 60 days. I was isolated from anybody.
Stop for 1 second there.
Yeah.
The solitary confinement, that's because you refused to get the jab.
And so I refused to take the nose swab to make sure I was COVID free. I won't stick that thing up my nose. And I told them no. So they held me for a period of 18 days in a range style, but only I couldn't come out. I could come out every 3 days and make a phone call or have a shower. And while I didn't have any numbers and I'm struggling to get lawyers, trying to get phone calls out to my loved ones to let them know I'm okay, and I wasn't able to get a shower. Now with my injury, they have to. I know it's jail, and people are like, "Oh, you're in jail. It's you're locked up." They don't have to, but they actually do have to accommodate you to an extent when you have a medical handicap, which is a chair to sit on in a shower room. I can't shower in the main shower. I have to have a chair to sit on, and they refused to give me a chair. So I never got my showers for about 18 days, and I ended up developing an infection in my leg, and then they refused to treat the infection. They brought the doctor up. The doctor is like, I'm telling you, the doctor in the OCDC prison was just like the doctor from The Simpsons. Hello, everybody. Like, this guy was a nut job, man. And I didn't want him to touch me and stuff. So there was a lot of refusals because the absolute conditions in that prison are disgusting. There's bugs crawling on the floor. You're laying on a mat this high off the ground. You're on the floor. You're not coming. You don't have beds. It was bad. I'll tell
you, I've come to the conclusion now that the vast majority of the people who say, well, you're in prison, so, fuck around, find out, are so-called liberals, because once upon a time might have been the conservatives who said, well, fuck around, find out. It's gone full 360 or 180. I need you to elaborate on these shit conditions in jail. I have now become sensitized, whereas I never even thought about it, or you just take for granted, well, it's bad, but it's not torturous. They stick you in solitary, set aside their bullshit pretextual basis to do it COVID. So we got to stick you, we got to put you in the worst conditions that are most susceptible to getting you sick in the first place, because you won't take a fucking test. What is that like? Is there a window? Is there air conditioning? Is there heating? Is it cold? Is it damp, dank, rats, cockroaches? What's it like? And how do you get through that?
So it's absolutely brutal. The solitary or ADSEG, what they call administrative segregation, is a cement bed. There's feces and blood all over the walls. The floors are absolutely gross. They don't let you clean them. They don't give you a mop to clean your cell. They don't give you any amenities to try and sanitize your cell. They don't give you soap. They don't give you anything. You're stuck on a cement bed with a fire blanket. And there's no heat. In the one section we had that I was in, there was no air conditioning. Like no even central vac, like HVAC system.
Circulation of air.
Yeah, there was none of that. It broke down. There was oh shit, how do I go now?
I don't know, but now I'm looking at my
constant harassment from guards, telling me they're gonna beat the shit out of me. They can't wait. They know where the cameras are. That there's black spots on the cameras, and we're gonna go punch you out. The one sergeant on the isolation wing for COVID, absolutely, like, and I'm waiting for the day that this is all exonerated, and I'm going after this guy for absolute torture. They left my lights on for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 32 days. I didn't know what day was what. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know if it was daylight or nighttime. They wouldn't clean your cell. They wouldn't give you stuff to clean. It was disgusting. It was horrible. AdSeg was even worse. AdSeg, there was shit, piss. It smelled like a morgue down there. The guards were harassing the other AdSeg guys and threatening them and wanting to beat them up and it was like Alcatraz. It felt like what Alcatraz would have been like had you been on the island.
Well, it feels like I've never been to Alcatraz. It feels like the Shawshank. It feels like describing something out of Shawshank Redemption, but even worse. And now I'm just saying, like, I think you're adding wrinkles to my face now as you tell me this. So it's not the case that the guards there are like, sorry, Pat, we know this is bullshit, but we're just doing our jobs. These are people who revel in the torture.
Well, this was the first 32 days. After that, what they were mainly afraid of is they were afraid that I was going to start a prison riot, is what they told me. That was their justification for isolation. Then when they finally said, okay, he doesn't have COVID, what are we going to do? We can't keep him segregated. We can't keep him isolated. We have to move him somewhere. They moved me to what's called One Wing. And One Wing is where they hold all the murderers, where these guys are waiting for trial for murder. I was housed with an inmate 24/7 a day, 24/7. He was a double homicide with the 1,000-yard stare. Everybody on that wing was there for murder, and they were the worst of the worst inmates. I spent about 30-some days on that wing with 24-hour lockdown. We'd get out I think it would be every second or third day we'd get out for a phone call. And then you have to stand in line for a phone call because there's only one phone that worked. And the other guys that were in there, they had seniority, so they would hog the phone and, not let you have the phone. And one of the guards, and I don't remember his name, but I'll always remember who he was. Like if I seen him in public, I would know right away. I'll go up and shake his hand. He actually went to bat for me. I heard him down the hall. What the fuck are you guys doing to this guy? He's in here for a fucking mischief, and you got him in there with murderers. I am going to do everything I can to get you out, Pat, and you do not belong in this wing. And thank God for him, because he felt the pain that I was going through. And then they finally, after about 30 days in One Wing, to make sure I was well behaved and I was a model prisoner, he decided they worked their magic and they got me down to general population for about 3 months. That's a dormitory with a bunch of. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say they put you there so that something bad would happen to you. I when I was talking.
That's exactly what it was. They were isolating me in with the murderers and the convicted murderers that were being transferred to pens to hopefully have something happen to me. Yeah, I know that for a fact.
When I interviewed Artur Pavlovsky, and he's like, they put me in jail and I was such a risk. I couldn't have pencils or pens or anything sharp. And then they stick me in a cell with a schizophrenic individual who had pens that he was right. And it's his impression. I don't think I disagree with it. They wanted that guy to do something to him. The man that you're bunked with in a cell, how big is this cell?
It's a 6x8. It's not big at all. There's a little tiny desk in the corner, and then you have your bunk, and that's it. And then you gotta fight. You gotta fight to watch the TV across the hall through a window this big. So the TV's across the hall, and you gotta kind of sit like this. And the two of you gotta share media time to watch TV.
Was he mentally? Was he schizophrenic? Was it what type of murder? Was it a spouse?
So he was a gang member. From what I understood, I'm not going to say his name, but he was a gang member, and he was under trial for 2 homicides. I'm not going to say anything about what he told me.
No, forget that.
But
that's enough.
Let's just put it this way: he was a badass. But luckily for me, his mom was the one who cooked the pig for us downtown Ottawa. So she told him, you be nice to him. You take care of him. You don't let anything happen to him. Wow. So I lucked out in that sense, in that way that I got a good cell. He was a good cellmate, and he was just waiting for trial. They like you to do dead time. They like you to sit in jail and with no time towards your conviction, so that it looks better in court. So he was happy to be sitting there in doing dead time, because it reduces the amount of time you get on sentence. But the other guys that were on that wing, the other ones, they were absolute psychopaths. And we had to share a community room when it come time to use the phone. And the one guy, he killed his brother, like murdered his brother, bragged about it, laughed about it, thought it was funny, and just sick. And everybody in that wing, they had that 1,000-yard stare, they just looked at you like, it was bad. They fought just for fun, because that was their entertainment.
All right. Lingering psychological trauma that this has left with you?
I don't sleep. I have insomnia now. I'm not diagnosed with it, but I know. You can ask my girlfriend. I don't sleep.
So this insomnia is not one of those things you need to be diagnosed with. You know when you have it. It's not. It's not like
what it is it comes to, you have guards that come to your door, knocking on your door, on your cell, bang, 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 bang. I need to see you move at all hours of the night, And then now, while I'm living under these conditions, under these bail release conditions, I get door knocks at 3 a.m, 2 a.m, 4 a.m.
At your place of residence, where you are on house arrest.
Place of residence. Yeah,
they got to make sure you're there. Yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, a few of them have absolutely, like, damn near kicked my door down. They've shone their strobe lights in my house to make it look like a rock concert. They've harassed my neighbors. My neighbors were watching TV or a movie one night at like 1:30 in the morning. And all of a sudden, these big bright strobe lights were flashing in their houses. They were looking at the neighbors' houses and stuff.
Well, it's another way to psychologically torture you, is cause strife amongst your neighbors. Make your neighbors hate you because of what the cops are doing to them to get back at you. It's an amazing tactic.
Absolutely, yeah, and I'm aware of this. So I make do. I definitely don't sleep. I don't sleep, and it sucks. I wish I can get a good night's sleep. I haven't had a good night's sleep in damn near 2 years.
Are you you could leave the house during the day?
I can leave the house during the day, yeah, but I have to be home indoors by 10 o'clock. And so my job, it involves me having to leave my residence for weeks at a time. So I can't go and do that. Unless I have my assurity with me after 10 o'clock, I'm allowed out past 10 o'clock. But I got to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for fundraising purposes. If you can donate, please, anything helps. My bank accounts are still frozen, so I don't have access to my banks. And if you can donate to natasha.calvino@gmail.com, all payments go to my lawyer. She does send you back receipts, so it is all up and up. That's it. I have to put it in, man.
No, for sure. And I'll do this just again. I'll say here's the link to his lawyer's email address. Holy hell, Pat.
Yeah. I'm not even out of jail yet. This is what I'm going through for 5 months.
Okay, so now we're like 2 months in, and you're getting denied bail hearings. There was an issue where you couldn't even get a rehearing for a long time.
Well, they played the calendar game, so they're very skilled at prolonging stuff. See, lady, I like to explain it as, when you're playing in their sandbox, you're not playing in an actual sandbox. It's like quicksand. The way their system is designed, the whole system needs to be fixed. but it's basically I'm not available on this date. But they all know their schedules. So between the Crown and the lawyers, they all have their schedules. They know who's available when and for when, at what times. So he would make himself available. The Crown would make himself available when my lawyer wasn't available. And then my lawyer would make a time, and he would say, oh, I'm not available on that time. Then he got COVID. Then he got, went on vacation for 6 weeks. As well as when you are denied your first bail hearing, you have to wait 30 days. So the first bail hearing was denied, 30 days. Get the next bail hearing. Oh, well, I'm not available on this date, this date, and this date. Okay, we finally get a bail hearing, but they collude together, and yeah.
It's
and then I lose that bail hearing, and that bail hearing goes for another 90 days. And then when it comes past that 90 days, it was, okay, we're available this date. No, I'm not available this date. Oh, I'm not available this date. I'm going on holidays.
It's a fucking nightmare, and it's enraging, because this is how the system works. Even under normal circumstances, it's hurry up and wait. Oh, well, the court starts at 8:30 and ends at 4:30. You get 20-minute break that turns into 45 minutes. You get an hour and a half lunch, turns into 2 hours. You can't get things done, reschedule it. Oh, sorry, the judge has another hearing tomorrow. Come back in a week. And then meanwhile, this is for your bail for nonviolent mischief and incitement to mischief, and you're locked up like a rat in a cage, in a cage that nobody's cleaning for 5.5 months.
Disgusting. Like, I'm talking like blood splatter all over the walls, feces all over the windows, like disgusting. Like, this is, I don't even know how this place is even standing. They don't have inspections. They don't do cell inspections. They don't do anything. These guys show up, collect a paycheck, and leave. That's all they do. And the guards will even tell you that. We don't give a shit about this place. We don't care. You're here, you're locked up, you're transferred. That's all you are to us. We're here to collect our paycheck. We don't give a shit.
So 5.5 months, how does it come to be that you finally get liberty? And I'll make sure everybody sees those quotes. You get out after 5 months. How did it happen, and what were the terms of your release?
Okay, so I end up finding a lawyer, Natasha Calvino, absolutely amazing woman. We went through many. I had to interview her to make sure that she was on the same page as us, looking out for my best interest and making sure that I was priority number one. Once we established that, we put together a bail package for the courts. The judge, fortunately for me, the judge was kind of, siding that I shouldn't be in there that long. But the Crown wouldn't release me unless I had the most stringent of conditions. Basically, you're not allowed to talk to these people, which is Tamara Barber, my best friend, who already pleaded guilty. He took a plea deal, pled guilty, and was released. And now I'm not allowed to talk to him. He's like my brother. A couple other people that, well, I don't care to talk to, but another gentleman that's, he's like another brother to me. They basically denied me the communications with people that were close to me. Then they said, under the condition of $55,000 bail, of which $25,000 of that, we'll get to that. Let me just go through the conditions, but you're going to freak right out. $55,000 bail, 3 assurities. So I had to have 3 people vouch for me, 1 in Ontario and 2 here in Alberta. One being my mother-in-law, the other one being a really close friend of mine. And I get those 3 sureties. Then I'm not allowed to do interviews all year, like for the whole time till I got my social media platform back for fundraising purposes only, ladies and gentlemen. If I'm not saying it enough, I need to say it enough. My lawyers told me that. So I get my conditions back that I'm allowed to do fundraise. Sorry, we're getting released on bail. I get a little confused. I apologize. So I get no interviews, no speaking on COVID, not allowed to talk about COVID. Not allowed to talk about, I'm not allowed to do interviews to say my side of the story. I have to watch the media smear me for the last year and a half and not being able to rebut or give any kind of disclaimers or defend myself in any way. And not allowed on social media, wasn't allowed on the internet for a short period of time. And then I had a flip phone. Like, I couldn't have a phone that had access to the internet. Everything was on a flip phone, and the old text where you got to tap
Yeah.
three times just to text somebody. And then curfew, and not allowed to enter the province of Ontario, not allowed to be in the city of Ottawa.
These are so everybody knows this is the bail conditions, and these are not the current pre-trial terms that you're on until you get to trial. They've been.
Oh no, these are still going.
Oh my!
I'm still on these conditions now, except for I got a little bit of a relax on the social media because they agreed that my bank accounts are still frozen. So how else am I going to raise money? I'm from Alberta. I can't have Ontario legal aid because I'm from Alberta. So how do I pay for my lawyer? They're denying my ability to pay for my lawyer. Oh, well, we'll give you your social media back. We realize that it's a violation of your freedom of speech, and you can have your social media back, but only for fundraising. You can only have it back to fundraise and fundraising purposes only. So, and then as soon as they give me my platform back, I'm shadowed. At first, I've got over 500,000 hits on my first video back, and now I can barely get 100 people in a room. Because they've absolutely censored me. You'll get out there for fundraising, but we're not going to let your message get out. So I have to piggyback off all you guys out there, all the podcast people out there.
This is not piggy. Well, I mean, I know the way you might feel because you're hampered. This is amplification. I don't think people know what's going on. Like, and Pat, let's get the ugly part out of the way. Some of the controversial mean statements you said as a figure of speech. You said people were so angry with these politicians, someone's going to catch a bullet. I don't know if you meant I think that was the expression you had used,
so those videos, and they were also they were actually brought up in one of my bail hearings, and it was deemed that the videos that they showed were edited and they are inadmissible in court.
Mm-hmm.
But the media had no problem smearing those. They took little clips of things that I had said in the past, and I'm talking years in the past. So the internet is always alive, right? And it's always there. But when the mandates come down, and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this, mandates are not law. I don't care who you are. They are recommendations. They are mandates put in place as recommendations. You cannot enforce these. So I was in Toronto. I had just got done speaking at an event in Toronto, and I was told that these mandates were kicking in on November 31st, I believe it was November 30th. But because I had purchased my tickets prior to that date, I was given a 72-hour window that when the mandates kicked in, don't worry about it. We'll get you home. I show up at the Pearson International Airport to get on my plane. I have I get told that I have to go check in at their kiosk, and I'm like, I don't have to do that. I just got to scan my code and get on. So I scan my code. It says, no, you got to go to the kiosk. And I'm like, oh God, here it comes. I know this is what they're doing, and they're targeting me specifically. They see my name on the list. So I go to the kiosk, but not without having my phone recorded. And this is where the media took a little clip, but I have it on. And this phone is still in the possession of the Ottawa Police Services. So the Ottawa Police Services confiscated my phone, of which that has the evidence on it. We're waiting to get that released so that we can get all the evidence off it. But I go to the kiosk. I ask the lady, what's going on? She says, you're Patrick King. I said, yes, I am. She says, do you have a Vax Pass? I said, no, I do not. I show her the email of WestJet saying I have a 72-hour window. All the while I'm recording her, and I have it all on film. I'm recording her because this is what I do. I always have a film. I always have a camera running. She says, yes, you did have a 72-hour window, but we moved it up by 24 hours. Personally, WestJet moved it up by 24 hours. I'm pissed. I'm mad as hell. Like, I am hot. I'm in Alberta. I live in Alberta. I can't get home. I don't know how I'm getting home, so I'm mad. All right. I got this lady on film. She's threatening to get the security on me. I've got it all on film. I'm walking out like I'm pissed off. I make a live video to let people know what happened. I didn't show the actual video. I showed a live video, and I expressed my opinion because opinions in Canada are still supposed to be part of freedom of speech.
Supposed big caveat, Pat.
Right. So I say my opinion. My opinion was, with these mandates, you're going to piss people off. You're pissing people off now. Like, you're making people, denying them access in their own country, of which on my passport, it says right on the very opening that the Minister of Foreign Affairs deems that anybody with this passport should have free travel. They didn't listen to it. And I voiced my opinion that one of these days, man, you're going to drive somebody to the point, like, they're pissing off ordinary people. And ordinary people don't, they don't do ordinary things when they're under immense stress. They'll snap, they'll flip out. So I warned people on my live feed that, hey, if this continues, someone's gonna make Trudeau.
Yeah,
and that was it. And that
well,
was it.
And I'll say this. I feel like maybe I have to give you a harder time because, that's what some people would want. I know the figure of speech. And I'll say, because you said it, it's out there. Catch a bullet is a figure of speech. It's by no means a threat. It's not even intended to be a threat. It's more like saying someone's going to snap, someone's going to explode, someone's going to pull a falling down like a Michael Douglas. And it's not a threat. It's what it is maybe, people are going to say every fear hides a wish, and maybe it's a dog whistle, or it's just a plain observation that when you break people, broken people do broken things.
Right.
And for them, but that being said also, which is exactly why, the lawyer, maybe hears their own voice before it comes out and says, don't use certain types of expressions, use the ones that can't be weaponized or misconstrued deliberately. So you said, and I heard the clip at the time. I was like, that's not what anyone says it is. I don't believe it, but unwise to use certain types of hyperbolic figures of speech, because people will deliberately misrepresent them, because that's what they do.
And that's what they did. They took it and they ran with it. All it meant was that he's pissing off ordinary people, and ordinary people do non-ordinary things under immense amounts of stress. That's exactly what I was trying to express.
And not just that, they don't necessarily do the bad things to the people either. They just snap and end their own lives. And we've been seeing that in record numbers.
Yeah, the increase in suicides is astronomical. But that's what it was. It was me basically formulating an opinion and letting my viewers know that this was actually happening. A lot of people didn't believe this was happening, right? They're like, oh, I don't fly, so I don't see it happening, or I don't travel, so I don't see the travel restrictions. But this is a real-time moment where here it is, folks. It's actually happening. We are living in a communist country that is denying the flights over a freaking flu.
Not even a flu, but what was it? It was the Vax Pass at the time. I remember watching Chris Sky's videos where I said, like, I wouldn't do what he's doing, but my goodness, the world needs all types of people.
Let me see the papers. That's what it felt like. Let me see the papers.
That's
what it Colonel Clink everywhere you went.
That's what it was, Pat. My wife was working in a job that involved her having to go out of the house at night when we were under curfew, and she had to have the papers in the car. And when I succumbed, when I took the stupid shot back in 2021, as a joke, I emailed my wife the picture of my papers. I said, here are the papers for when the police ask. And, I can get away with that joke because no one's going to accuse me of whatever. Okay, fine.
You're Jewish, aren't you?
I'm Jewish, and by the way, the other thing that the media says about you, Pat, and at the risk of getting in trouble for saying this, the Wikipedia, you get accused of anti-Semitism for saying, I might disagree with or question the official numbers of the Holocaust, and I might be one of the few Jewish people out there who says that should be a fair point of discussion. Where my issue with laws that censor Holocaust denial is, they lump into it. People say, well, I want to argue over the numbers. And then everybody says, well, if you want to argue over the numbers, it's because you want to minimize the Holocaust. And I say to those people, if it's 4 million versus 6 million or 3 million versus 6 million, do you think that that's somehow going to make the 3 million genocide less bad than the 6 million? Like, we're dividing by zero here. And I don't think that should be unlawful, and I don't reflexively take it as anti-Semitic. It's when you're dealing with these numbers, it should be fair game to ask questions about, without being automatically labeled and demonized as an anti-Semite. but that's the easy way to discredit you, make people think you're an awful person who threatened the prime minister, anti-Semite. And if you're rotting in a shit-infested rat cell, that's not my problem. It'll never happen to me.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, that only came from a video that I showed where they showed that they changed the plaque at Auschwitz and Dachau and they changed the number on the plaque. So then I made a comment on my show that the numbers had changed, and I said, are they going to change the history books now? You know, and that was it. That was where that comment came from. But you got to understand what we're dealing with in Canada. I don't know if it's just as bad in the United States, but I'll give you Canada's example. We have a open pool of $45 million that is generated from the Liberal government to pay Anti-Hate Canada or the Anti-Hate Network. Anti-Hate Network, who all they do is hate, is an absolute reverse psychology platform that has people such as Evan Belgord, Kurt Phillips, and to name a bunch more that put smear pieces out on anybody who speaks out against any liberal policy, and they're nasty.
Oh no,
they made up that Wikipedia. You can't change that stuff. They have the money to do this, and one day they are going to get sued. I'm going to get this all behind me, and then I'm going after Evan Belgord personally. I'm going after Kurt Phillips personally. These people have absolutely taken anything I've said, no matter what it is. They're probably watching this right now, Viva. They're probably watching this, Pat, waiting for me to slip up so that they can put it out there.
Here, Pat,
it's disgusting.
I periodically,
I
periodically Google my name. Hold on in here. I'm in here somewhere. They have not yet called me one of them self-hating Jews, but I suspect that check is in the mail. This is all that they have said about me. Wendy Martin ran in Oxford, Ontario, riding in 2021-2023. This is for the PPC. Likewise, in Quebec's Notre-Dame-de-Grâce westbound, candidate David Fry managed to take 1,498 votes in 2020, while Tony Olinga fared far worse in the last by-election. They have not yet called me a hateful person. But if they do, if they do, it's anti-Semitism. If they go after me, it's because I'm Jewish, and it's because they are the anti-Semites.
That's right.
And all that say, right. Pat, I say, for all of the demonization, I couldn't really find any prime examples of anything really, really objectively terrible that you've ever said, as if that's a reason to even think about condoning what Canada has done to you.
Moving forward, so what they've done is they've used those to attack the convoy. They've used those videos to I call it hack journalism, and it's probably a term in the dictionary that is hack journalism, where they'll take these little clips and they'll edit them together to fit what they needed to say. And they actually use those in the House of Commons to argue that we were racists, we were tyrants, we were, every name in the book.
You were coming there to violently overthrow the government. They were trying to pull a January 6th.
That's right. And if you watch any of my videos, it was all peace and love. It was Woodstock. It was, Pat, everybody do not antagonize the police. Do not cause any disruption. Be polite. Be apologetic. We cleaned up the streets. We reduced the crime by 90%, for the 3 weeks that we were there. People felt safe in the downtown core again. And that spoke volumes. But they once again did another hit piece. So Jillian, they did a Fifth Estate hit piece. There's an hour and a half worth of footage that they did not show. They showed a 5-minute clip of me to spin another narrative, which played right into the Emergencies Act. They knew that the Emergencies Act was being invoked. The Emergencies Act was illegally invoked. The Senate did not pass it. Remember, Trudeau had given the Senate that Friday the day off, so they couldn't vote on it. He invoked the act, and then when they came back to work Monday, he lifted it.
Yeah, well, I think people might have forgotten that. He rescinded the invocation before the Senate could shut it down, because the word on the street was he had created such a run on the banks by freezing the bank accounts. He started getting calls from the bank saying, "What the fuck are you doing? We don't have the cash in our reserves to give all their money out. Undo this, and if you don't, the Senate's going to strike it down. You're going to get embarrassed." So he revoked it 3 days after invoking it, because it was such a national emergency requiring the Emergencies Act. 72 hours later, it had been resolved. And then Commissioner Rouleau comes and pats him on the back and says, "You did good, minion."
Uncle Rouleau. We call him Uncle Rouleau.
Yeah, but he's not actually related. I
know.
got. Yeah, well, for goodness sake, when there's two, what is it, Pierre or Paul Rouleau? I forget which one, but there's two people with the exact same name. You can understand people although Rouleau is a very common French last name,
Right.
French Canadian.
But that was the running joke. The running joke was Uncle Rouleau, and that whole emergencies commission. I testified at it. They subpoenaed me and had me testify at it. That was a circus. It was never meant to put the convoy on trial. It was meant to put the government on trial, not us. And they focused mainly on us. And for
Not
what?
mainly, virtually exclusively. In retrospect, now it was designed to be. Let's get every evidence that we need in there so that we can justify Trudeau's invocation of the act. And by the way, for everyone out there, Rouleau is not related to Justin Trudeau. He's not that Rouleau, but he's a longtime liberal supporting political player.
Handpicked.
Man, so you get out after 5.5 months. When did you get out? This is a little over a year ago now.
So I got out July 18th, 2022. I get released, and I was shell shocked when I got out. I looked sickly, I looked sick.
Did you lose weight or put on weight as a result?
No, I put on weight. They didn't have any activity programs. You weren't allowed out in the yard. You didn't get yard time. You didn't get an exercise time. The food that they fed you was for pigs, like slop. It was disgusting. Steamed food that it had to travel from Toronto to Ottawa and then steamed. This is how it doesn't make sense, the whole thing. And we're eating basically TV dinners, steamed TV dinners all day, every day. I get out. I get a crowd of people at the door, onlookers, supporters, whatever, media. And then I fly home to Alberta, and I have to stay at my mother-in-law's house. I wasn't even allowed to stay at my own house.
May I ask why? I don't want to get you into trouble, but why weren't you allowed to?
They just wouldn't let me. They didn't want me staying at my own home. I had to be under constant supervision. So, because I'm such a threat to society. Dave, I'm such a threat to society.
Pat,
I have to have 24-hour overwatch.
I've never had a problem with you. I mean, and despite what I've read on the media, it's even that, if that's the best you got, then I know that we're dealing with someone who's really not bad. I mean,
I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, man. And here's the other kicker. So I'm this big bad racist. My children are of other ethnicities. My stepkids, they're of color, and they tried to bring that up in my bail hearing, trying to deem me a racist. And my mother-in-law, actually, it was kind of funny because she had the picture of the grandkids in there, and she was waiting. Lynn, I'm sorry, I have to say this. She was waiting for them to say something about being a racist, and she was ready to pounce because our family's been sick and tired of listening to this. They're playing that damn race card. And they don't even know. They didn't even have the mental fortitude to do the look and investigation themselves to see who I really was. They just went off absolute atrocious clips that the media were playing to paint that picture with that broad paintbrush.
It's just the problem is it just cannot make sense in law that you could have ever been held for 5.5 months on these charges. Period. Full stop.
I should have been released after 24 hours like everybody else.
What is it? An order to appear, you go back and you schedule your trial dates. That's it. It's enraging because there still is a not insignificant percentage of the Canadian population and other population that thinks that, well, he would have talked. He would have organized another protest. He would have crippled Ottawa again. I mean, and as if a year later, any of that. No, it's enraging that there are still intelligent people who purport to love freedom, who call themselves liberals, who say this all somehow makes sense. Don't cause problems. You won't get into trouble, and they don't understand that it will come to bite them in the ass one day. For fundraising purposes only, Pat, what's your lawyer's name again?
Yes, this is for fundraising purposes, ladies and gentlemen, and this is for fundraising purposes. You can donate to my lawyer at natasha.calvino@gmail.com. I want to share. This is a funny one for you, Viva. I want to share this for you. I think this will give you a perspective of how rent-free I live in politicians' heads. So I'm just going to share my screen with you.
Go for it. I'll bring it in.
Play this video and have a laugh. Have a laugh. And ready? I'll play it.
Go for it.
The one thing that I would caution you actually is intelligence is not evidence, and I think that we lose sight of that. And if we learned one thing, Rick was talking about the Rouleau inquiry into the convoy protest. We know that CSIS didn't do a really good job spying on Pat King, so I'm not really sure CSIS has done a great job spying on Beijing. So I think I'd be really, really careful about what we see in any of these reports.
Hold on, pause it again. Is he saying they didn't do a good job because they violated fundamental civil rights, or they didn't do a good enough job spying on you?
So this was when there was a balloon flying over North America, right? This is how much I lived rent-free in these guys' heads. So the Chinese spy balloons are flying across Canada. They had to get a dig in there saying that CSIS didn't do a good job spying on Pat King. Who's to say they did a good job spying on Beijing and the foreign interference and foreign influence?
It rhymes, so it's got to be true.
Oh
my God. Oh my goodness.
This is the extent that they go to try and smear what I've done. I wasn't always an advocate or
an activist.
An activist. I was investigating stories. I was covering the Chinese influence in Canada. I flew in 2019 to the Bilderberg conference in Montreux, Switzerland. I caught 3 of our Canadian delegates there. One of them was Michael Sabia, who at the time was the CEO of the Quebec Pension Plan, who was over there paying these elite bankers these secret meeting in Montreux, Switzerland. And the 3 topics of choice were AI, China, and the weaponization of social media at the time. And I caught these guys over there. I'm investigating these on my own dime, doing my own thing, bringing the stories out to light. And this is what they do. Oh God, he's got the dirt. We're gonna put him in the dirt. And this is what they do. This is absolute. I call this is one of my crowning achievements. I love this.
First of all, who is that guy? Who is this guy?
Benzies or something is his name. Hang on,
now
Benzie. Further on CSIS from Benzie, it says in the Twitter feed.
This is a man who loves freedom. And he's a liberal.
100%.
Let me ask you this question. Like, we're making light of the fact that you have to continually remind everyone this is for fundraising purposes only. May I ask how much you've burnt on legal fees? Like just set on fire?
Okay, so initially it was $60,000 to get out of jail. That was initial. Through campaigning, through people coming to. I didn't bring up the big one. Okay, so we'll come to that. Don't let me forget that. I'm going to put a pin in.
No. Do that. Do that now. I won't forget about the law.
Okay, so I get out on bail on $55,000 bail. I get out on bail. I get released, but I can't get released without a $25,000 bond. I have to put a $25,000 cash bond down. I ain't got that. Nobody's got that today's society unless you're well off. Well, an angel shows up by the name of Calvier. And the Sikh community out of Brampton, Ontario, the Sikh community accumulated $25,000 money and donated it to help me get out of jail.
The Sikh community,
this big racist,
that's what I was going to say.
Xenophobe, has the Sikh community fronting $25,000 to help me get out of jail.
The $55,000 bail, is that cash bail as well?
No, so $25,000 to get out. The bond. Other, if I breach, my surety's got to put it up, and I have to put it up the remaining amount. So we're at 25, 55, so $30,000. Okay, I'd have to put out of my own pocket.
Holy!
So
crap.
Each of my sureties are on the hook for $5,000 if I mess up.
All right. That's cash that you don't have it, so that's in there now.
That's right. So that's sitting in the Crown. The Crown's got that right now. They're holding on the $25,000 donated by the Sikh community, mind you. And then in the meantime, for now, through the fundraising, from my last report that I got, I just barely raised over $26,000 in my fundraising campaign. We do have a couple campaigns coming up. So tomorrow, Saturday, we have a car show and shine being held up in Leduc, Alberta. So bring your cars out. If you're in Leduc, come bring your cars out, show your support, and there'll be auctions and wood carving and a bunch of bunch of stuff going on. We got Jonas Milan will be down from Princeton, British Columbia. He's a chainsaw wood carver. He's got a bunch of items up for auction and raffle to help accumulate funds for my legal fees. I'm looking at $170,000 I'm in need of by November, and I have only barely scratched the surface on $26,000.
How long? I want to make sure not to ask a question I'm not allowed to ask. How long is your trial scheduled for?
6 weeks. 6 weeks. But and this is public knowledge, I also opted for a jury trial because there's no chance in hell am I going to step up against a judge who is a Freemason judge that has already been handpicked because of my luck with judges already. I'm not going up against a handpicked judge by the Trudeau government.
But the trial now is going to be in what jurisdiction? In Ottawa or?
Well, right now it's scheduled for Ottawa, but we have change of venue applications put in. We were supposed to hear those applications in August 20th.
You gotta pay out the ass to get these basic. So as if
yes. Those motions are $20,000 each.
And I'm not giving any legal advice. I don't practice anymore. I think I would take my chances with a jury over a judge, especially in that jurisdiction. But even still, you're in Ottawa, and you're going to get these people who think that they were terrorized.
Oh yeah,
into being a jury of your peers. You got to move it out. But anyways, and then you got to ask the venue to move it out.
That's right. Yeah,
we don't like you very much, Pat. So no.
And that's it. And in the city of Ottawa, the media has made it their living goal to show horrible convoy pictures on the media every night at 6 o'clock. They will not let it rest. They are. Tamara and Chris got theirs coming up in September, very shortly.
6 weeks on your trial.
Yeah, 6 weeks. I don't know how. I don't know the inner workings of how the law works, but I know that the evidence that we have, that ain't going to take 6 weeks to prove me innocent.
You don't have to prove yourself innocent except for in a communist regime.
I'm guilty until proven innocent in this country right now.
Yeah.
To the point that my bank accounts are still frozen under this stupid Mariva injunction, right?
But that's for the
Mariva injunction that hasn't even been certified. And Paul Champ, or Mr. Paul Chump, and I hope you hear this, Chump, still has my bank accounts frozen.
Your bank account is frozen under the civil suit Mariva injunction?
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, he will not release it.
How do you pay bills?
I have a prepaid credit card from Money Mart. I use Money Mart.
Do you have? Are you working and getting remunerated at this point?
I have my disability for my leg, and that's all I have. I can't go out and get a job. I can't. I got my leg disability that I'm living on right now. I'm doing schooling. So I'm trying to keep myself proactively educated and try and just keep my brain fresh. But I am doing schooling at this time, and my career is in the oil and gas industry. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. That's my professional. I'm a professional at it. So that means I have to leave my house for periods of time, sometimes a month. I'm gone. So I can't go to do what I can't. What do you want me to go work in a Quickie Mart 8 o'clock in the morning? There's not a chance. I can't do it.
I am going to swear one last time because it's a fucking outrage. And anybody who is not outraged doesn't have a head on their shoulders or a heart in their chest. It's a fucking outrage. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard. Not only that, let's not forget about the NIS agents and the CSIS agents that's following us around. They'll follow me around with cameras and watch my every movement like I'm some threat to Canadian civilization. No, I'm a threat to the political realm because of the dirt that I have. And this is what they're going to do. They're going to target you. They're going to gang stalk you. But I want people to don't be in fear of this. Ladies and gentlemen, what we've done is we've laid the foundation. We took the hits for you guys. You can speak up now. You can speak. You can talk. Business owners, you can talk now. Big, high up people in corporations, you can talk now. We're on trial already. We're in there. We're going. But it's time for these people who are voiceless to get their balls back and start talking, because we know what they're doing to the corporations. We know what they're doing to our economy here in Canada. We know that they're going to try and, good luck, implement another lockdown coming. They're going to try and do all these things. It's time. We've taken the hits. Now it's you guys, you know, your A team's up there. We need the third stringers. We need the second line.
People just have to understand the poem by the Holocaust survivor. At first they came for the union workers, and I said nothing because I wasn't a union. They're good at, and now, by the way, the people who you know, when I said, well, we're getting out of here because I'm not doing curfews again, and I'm not getting a vaccine passport for my kids, and then like, well, you know, they're lifting the restrictions, and I said, you think they're not going to try to do this again? Like, and then okay, so your trial comes up, you're fundraising to pay your defense. Yeah. And the fundraising can only go by email, PayPal transfer, or whatever, e-transfer to your lawyer.
That's right. Yeah. I do have PayPal. I do have PayPal on mine, and I have to transfer it all to the lawyer. I haven't used the PayPal platform.
Don't worry about that. Well, maybe I'll ask you afterwards, and we'll get some other links that I can just share with everybody. For now, it's Natasha's email address and
Natasha's email address. But we also have we're putting on a rodeo event September 15th, 16th, and 17th, and there are tickets available online at www.brokenarrowbullsandbash.com. And that is a weekend-long camping excursion. We have bulls, bull riding events. We have barrel racing events. We have 3 concerts, 1 Friday night, 1 Saturday, and 2 Saturday. Tons of kids events going on. We've got Nerf wars. We've got food vendors. We've got merchant vendors. And it's to reestablish the community again, to get people back to understanding, hey, we can get together. We can socialize. We can leave the politics at the door and get back to taking care of one another. And that's basically what the motto is, you know, it's time that we start taking care of each other because they are not taking care of us. The government is not there for our best interest. And I'm a prime example of that.
Well, I'm going to after we're done, I'm going to talk about a few other stories. One of which Sheila Annette Lewis, who just died, to just to confirm that. Number 2, there was one out of Ontario to confirm the government is. Pat, I'm going to continue live after, but so message me all of the links that you want me to share. I'm going to put them in the pinned comment. We'll talk and catch up after this. Ordinarily, I'd end the stream and we would say our proper goodbyes, but I'm going to keep going. It's an outrage, and everybody has to know about it. An absolute outrage. I will snip and I will clip and I will share this around. And at the risk of having my bank accounts confiscated, I will obviously be sending something to your lawyer after this stream because...
Well, here's the defense on that one. They can't freeze your accounts when they're going to my lawyer. If they do, my lawyer is such a pit bull. She's amazing. They can't go after that. I believe PayPal is off your email. I don't know how PayPal works, but I do have a PayPal account. But know this. My lawyer is one of the few lawyers that actually has Canadians' best interests at heart. She is working diligently. You are getting receipts for these because the Crown has her under a microscope now to make sure that the funds are being allocated to the appropriate directions. Wow. And they're not, not going to Mr. King to help him survive. We just the Crown wants their penance. They want their money. They want their yeah. Oh.
It's a bloody outrage. And I have no doubt. Well, actually, I say I have no doubt you're not going to get convicted. It's going to end with. I think it's going to end with proper justice. As a result, the injustice will have come through. What has been done to you cannot be righted. The wrong that has been done to you right now cannot be righted. You could sue for malicious prosecution. Good luck with that. It cannot be righted. So even justice at the end of the line, you have been the victim of an egregious politically motivated injustice in the interim.
Absolutely political motivated.
Absolutely. And whatever anybody thinks about you, you could be a Holocaust denier, bona fide, it never happened, it was a hoax, and you still don't deserve this. And by the way, you're not that. Period.
No. But, I look at it this way. Cancel culture is a sick thing in this world. It is a parasite on a democracy. And, I seen your video of Jordan Peterson. I see Jordan fighting back. I see Jordan speaking up. And I understand where he's coming from. He's getting the same treatment, albeit he hasn't been jailed, but he's getting the same treatment as I am with the cancel culture, with the board of the college board and the psychologist board that want to retrain him on social media. That's basically what I'm doing right now. I'm being retrained on social media on what not to say anymore because I'm not allowed to say my opinion.
No, it's like the court order they gave Artur Pawlowski. When talking about COVID, you must say the following things. It's consensus that masking and vaccination campaigns are very good. It's it's a professional lynching when it comes to Jordan Peterson. They use the profession to do it, and with you, it's a judicial lynching. They use and abuse whatever the tools of power are that they have over the individual. In your case, you're not a member of a professional order. They'll just use the justice system. With Peterson, they'd use the justice system too if they could. And who knows, with the laws that they've passed, we're not far off from some of those statements being contrary to the conversion ban Bill 4, whatever the hell it is, Bill C4.
Pat, you got to remember too that I also pissed them off when I challenged the COVID narrative too. We were going to talk about that, but I'm not allowed to talk about much COVID. But I did piss them off.
Well, by the way, I was gonna. I don't even want to. I had my questions about the Stu Peter thing, but I'm going to avoid it because I don't want to get you into trouble. Period.
Okay. Well, just know that, ladies and gentlemen, I did contest the COVID laws, which absolutely set a fire under the Canadian judicial system. And if you're familiar with the case here in Alberta, it adds to it as well that it was deemed that Dina Hinshaw was not following her professional criteria and that she was only going off of recommendations by the government, which deemed that our COVID mandates here in Alberta were illegal.
And she was lying about the death of teenage kids to further the fear. Dina Hinshaw is an awful, evil person, period.
I pissed them off.
And do not affirm, confirm, or deny that, Pat. We do. Pat, we'll keep in touch and we'll keep following this, and I'll keep doing whatever I can to help you.
For sure, I appreciate it.
No, because this is not a question of being partisan. It's not a question of being dumb. What I believe what is being done to you is vehemently, is not the right word, vigorously, deeply wrong. Period. And I'll ask you the questions and I'll give you the hard time on some of the stuff where you might have gotten things right or wrong and you might have used words that you shouldn't have used. This is bullshit through and through. And people need to understand it. They can hate you, they can think that they hate you, and they still can't tolerate this.
Yeah, love me or hate me, you can't debate me. That's my motto. Like I'm dead serious. I have the proof, I have the evidence, I have the stories, I've traveled, I was the boots on the ground, I have the stories. But no media will get them out because they're so afraid that Mr. King is such a bad man. I always ask reporters, show me where the bad man touched you. Because, he must have touched you somewhere that you're so afraid to tell the truth.
I'd say, but even if they hate you, they can love you, they can hate you. They can't lock you up for 5 months on a nonviolent mischief charge, period. And someone has to politically answer to that, and there has to be a political reckoning. And if there isn't, it's the end of Canada, period.
Even the detective, so they put homicide detectives on our cases. So the homicide detective, when I was being released, went up to my girlfriend and said it was about time. He should not have been in there that long.
No shit, Sherlock. What's his name, Sherlock? I don't mean to.
No, Detective Benson.
No shit, Benson. No bull, Benson. Yeah. Pat, okay, I'm gonna stay live, but thank you. We'll keep in touch. We'll follow this up, and I'll be following it and make sure that I got a big mouth and a loud voice, so we'll keep it going.
Well, I appreciate it. All the help I can get, man. Like, it's so stressful. I got ulcers. I got a bad gallbladder now from it. Like,
the process is the punishment, and it's deliberate. It's not an accident.
I put on an easy face and a shit-eating grin, but behind there, there's some trauma for sure.
No, and I'm not projecting. I think I see the trauma, and I suspect you're not allowed medicinal marijuana, and don't answer the question. I don't even know that helps, but there's no question. It's torture, and it's meant to be.
It's bad. It's bad.
Send me all of the links. I will blast them out, pin them up, and we will do a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you for coming on, and we'll do it again for sure.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, fundraising purposes only.
I'm changing my name back after you leave. Pat, be as strong as you can under the circumstances, and
that's all I can be.
Hopefully, we'll just raise a little bit of awareness, and people will say, "Holy shit, it's gotten this far! I didn't know that."
Yeah.
Time to put an end to it, politically speaking.
Thank you kindly, sir.
All right, man. Go enjoy the day.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.